Welcome, everybody, to a special edition of Dispatch Radio Hour. I am your host, Russ Rizzo, and we are going to be playing the first of our Rare Air talks that was shot live from the studio Boulder on May 17th. This is Kriste Peoples from the Black Women's Alliance. If you like what you hear and you're in the Denver Boulder area, stick around. We'll tell you about a few opportunities to see her. And a quick note, we've got something special for you next week. We went to the Behind the Rocks Ultras, hosted by Justin Ricks and his family, talked with a whole bunch of La Sportiva athletes and some runners on the trail. We'll be releasing that next week. Now on to the show.
Backcountry Colorado, hiking, backpacking.
I did a lot of marathons. I was convinced to do some ultras.
Climbing, and I do filming and photography.
I just like the ultras because I love the community. I just think that everybody is so nice, whether they're the first place finishers or, you know, us that kind of mosey along.
Kriste Peoples!
Yay, Kriste! Thank you. I came to Colorado in 2009. I arrived not knowing anyone, and I was kind of intrepid. I came from Chicago and then Phoenix before that and Brooklyn before that, so I was ready to adapt. I was ready for what I thought was a small town and quaint, you know. And I started joining women's groups. I developed a love of chai and hiking. I got myself a Subaru. You couldn't tell me nothing. I was Boulder, okay? And yet, everywhere I went, what I was missing was a reflection in other people's eyes. I didn't see people who looked like me. I didn't feel a welcoming embrace from anyone. And it was really foreign to me. And so what happened, interestingly enough, was that it drove me deeper into nature, into my love of being out, having my feet on the earth, running, walking, doing whatever I could in the mountains. Because what I found was nature didn't care about the color of my skin. Nature didn't care what brands I had or what names I could drop, how much money I had, right? So I don't know how Moses felt when he came down from his mountain, but one day when I came home from a hike, the words of a former mentor were just kind of repeating on me. And he'd said to me once, if you can't find it, then you need to found it. And so that's when the seeds for Black Women's Alliance had been planted. I was still in Boulder at the time, but I waited until I moved to Denver because apparently that's where Black people are. And so but actually there was a little bit of fear and trepidation because I wasn't sure, you know, are there other women like me who are interested in being in the outdoors together, in exploring the unknown together in terms of, you know, spirituality, personal growth, development, all that kind of stuff. So nature was my refuge. And I started working also with women in terms of running and having other sorts of exploration. I worked with Girl Trek, I worked with BGR, I worked with Outdoor Afro. But I found that going back to that first love, which was really cultivating the heart and spirit and spirit of adventure for the most part in Black women, was where it was at for me. And in the spirit of an alliance, we like to work with other organizations that have a shared mission of really cultivating good conversations, really having a place at the table to change the narrative. Somebody said something that was really brilliant. Don't ask me who it was, but it really landed. He said, in order to change the narrative, you have to change the narrator. Boom. Right? And that's something that I have been really fascinated with and taken by over the past few years, actually since I came to Colorado. It was really important and central to everything that I do to not only reclaim the power of my story, but to also give myself permission to show up in a way that says, hey, I'm here. I don't have to look like you. I don't have to sound like you. I don't have to do the same things that you do in order to be out in nature, in order to be out in the world, and in order to really put my footprint down in a way that matters to me. I think the more that we are each able to do that, the more that we are able to own and reclaim our own stories, the more that we get to heal ourselves, the more that it ripples out into our relationships and into our communities. That's what changes the world. And that's where the new conversations are happening. I'm so very excited to be included in this one. Thank you.
Kriste wants you to know that the Black Women's Alliance is hosting a talk of their own. They're going to be hosting Michelle Johnson, a yoga teacher and social justice activist. They'll be hosting her on July 17th. Her talk is $15. It's called Cultivating Courage in the Heart of Activists, Allies, and Agents of Change. We'll have a link in the show notes. Also, Kriste will be talking June 22nd through 24th at the Meadow Mountain Ranch in Allens Park here in Colorado. It's a women's-only event presented by the Women's Wilderness. It's called the Summit Sisters. Her talk will be called Leaning Out: An Adventuring Woman's Journey to Inclusion, Exploration, and Acceptance in Nature. And lastly, Kriste wants you to know that the Global Healing Collective is hosting the Walk Fest event, an unforgettable 3-day event, September 14th through 16th in the Rocky Mountain Sanctuary. Information at walkfestevent.com. Thank you all for tuning in. Tune in next week for the main event, Luis Benitez and Jamie Logan.